That's our heckle. Chicken's good. Alright, that's done. How you guys doing over here? Good? A little Christian meat debate? What do you think about these scissor sisters disrespecting the food? I'm winning, stupid. You don't hear the laughs?
Since 2015, Joey's TCAP.
Jeff and his wife Leanne look great in this video, which was taken at a Cincinnati comedy club on New Year's Eve. Less than 2 months later, Jeff was dead from a morphine overdose, and in July, Leanne would be in jail awaiting trial on 5 charges, including first-degree aggravated arson. I have the police reports from her arrest, and it's pretty crazy. I'll read them. Remember, Leanne received an eviction notice on July 21st. On July 24th, 2021, at 19:08, the Lebanon Police Department was dispatched to the apartment complex on a theft report. On my arrival, I begin speaking with Leanne's neighbor, the caller. While speaking with Leanne's neighbor, he advised that a Jeff Stacy came into his apartment and took his wife and kids' medication from the kitchen area. He probably had the medicine in the kitchen area because of the fire, and they moved stuff out, and they were moving into a hotel or whatever, and that's probably why the medicine was in the kitchen. So Leanne goes in and swipes their medicine. Leanne is a neighbor of his. Leanne's apartment caught fire earlier in the day, so she had been hanging out behind her apartment. The front door to the neighbor's apartment was unlocked at the time of the incident. After Leanne took the medication, the neighbor advised that Leanne went to her apartment and sat in a plastic lawn chair with the medications. I then proceeded to make contact with Leanne. While making contact with Leanne, I observed several empty pill bottles next to her on the ground. I also noticed that Leanne placed a clear plastic baggie filled with pills in her purse. The pill bottles belonged to the neighbor's family. The bottles, 20 milligrams of Adderall, lisinopril, B12, and 20 milligrams of Oprazolam were empty without any lids on them. Most people should know what Adderall is. That drug can be abused, but there's vitamin B12. Lisinopril is a blood pressure medication, and Oprazolam, if I'm even pronouncing that right, Oprazolam is for heartburn. So they were sitting there on the ground without the lids on them. I asked Leanne, did you go to the neighbor's apartment? And she stated yes. I then placed Leanne into handcuffs and advised her that she is being placed under arrest. After being placed into handcuffs, Leanne was read her Miranda warning, and she stated that she understood her rights, but did not want to answer any of my questions. While performing a search of Leanne's purse, all of the above stolen medications were recovered in a clear plastic sandwich baggie. Leanne was then transported to the Warren County Jail and booked in on criminal trespass and theft of medication. So a week later, a different cop goes to interview Leanne at jail, and he brings along with him the fire inspector. On July 30th, 2021, after a search warrant was signed and the premise of the original fire had been processed for evidence, I responded to the Warren County Jail to interview the apartment resident, Leanne Stacy. I was accompanied by the fire inspector. I initiated the interview at the Warren County Jail with Leanne Stacy by reading her Miranda warning and confirming her identity. Leanne spoke with us regarding the events of the day of the fire. Leanne said I already knew what had happened, and she stated that the fire was caused by her family members who did not live in the city. I asked her how her family could be responsible, and she stated I already knew. I asked Leanne if her family members told her to start the fire, and she stated yes. I asked Leanne why her family members would tell her to start a fire in her apartment, and she said I knew already, and she was living in hell. I asked Leanne if she started the fire in her apartment, and she said yes. Leanne said it was inevitable that a fire would happen, and she poured olive oil on the counter, then used fire starters to start the fire in the kitchen area. Leanne said she believed her family would start a bigger fire, and she needed to start a smaller fire before they had the chance. Leanne also stated that the oven had caught fire, and she reported the issue to the property managers. Leanne said a fire was eventually going to start in the oven. Upon investigation of the oven, no fire damage was found, and the property manager said no report had been filed for a malfunctioning oven. With the confession of the cause of the fire, Leanne was charged with aggravated arson to an occupied apartment building with significant damage and risk of serious physical harm to the other occupants living in the complex. Wow. We'll learn more about this as her case progresses, and hopefully we'll find out who supplied the lethal morphine dose to Jeff. Oh, and guess what, guys? I have a Patreon. All kinds of good stuff is going to be there. Some of it's already there already. So if you get a chance, sign up, and I'll see you there. Thanks.
Joey T-Camp.